Vlogmas 23. Here we are, we're getting there, we're nearly done. The 23rd day of December, and I've just got my Christmas list. Now this is going direct to Santa Claus because obviously everybody has to do a Christmas list and they have to go to Santa. So I'm going to get ready in a couple of minutes, I'm going to take that out and I'm going to send that over to Santa so he knows exactly what I want on Christmas Day. Do you have a Christmas list? Is there something that you'd really like to have? Is there something that you're hoping somebody will buy you? Or do you just take it as it comes and wait for the surprise? Or maybe you don't. Maybe you already know what somebody's getting you. Some people do. Some people do that. When I was at school, I was always told, make a Christmas list. And I would go around and I would look through all the things that I wanted, all the toys that I wanted, all the games that I maybe wanted, and I'd put them into a huge list and I'd leave them lying around so that they could be written out and they could be passed on to Santa Claus. Now, I've very rarely got everything on the list, but then I was always told if you make a list of all the things that you want, you may not get everything on the list, but you will get some of the things on the list, obviously, depending whether you're on the naughty list or on the nice list. Is that something that still happens? People making a Christmas list, or even kids writing a letter to Santa, and then it gets put on the fire, goes up the chimney. That's if you have a fire these days. Sometimes you can actually send Santa a letter, and sometimes you can arrange for Santa to send a special letter to your children as well. Now, mostly my Christmas list would always revolve around cars, models of cars, cars that I'd seen in the movies, cars that I'd seen in TV shows. And then as I got older, the Christmas want list evolved into bigger items that I wanted. One of the things was at the top of my Christmas list for a huge number of years was a 1969 Dodge Charger, an actual car though, the real car. That was the thing that was at the top of my Christmas list for about, I think it must have been for about somewhere between 15 to 20 years. That was at the top of my Christmas list. Now, one particular Christmas day, I woke up and I looked out the bedroom window, and on the drive, there actually was a 1969 Dodge Charger, as I'd requested, wrapped up in a huge black bow, just as I said I was hoping that I would get. The only problem was, it wasn't really a Dodge Charger that you could drive. It was a Revell kit, a plastic kit of one that you would have to put together yourself, and it would have been about this size when it was all put together. I've still got it. I haven't built it yet. I've had it for years, but I was so surprised and so pleased by the fact that even though they couldn't afford to get me the actual car that I wanted, they put a load of thought and effort into it, and they got the next best thing, which was still the car that I wanted, but in model form that I could have made up and I could have had displayed on a shelf somewhere. I've never made it. I've always just kept it for the sake of keeping it as some form of souvenir. Somebody who actually put a bit of effort and a bit of thought into what I wanted for Christmas, and they went the extra mile to get me the very thing, but in miniature form. Absolutely fantastic. Have you ever had anything like that? Is there anything you've ever asked for that's been hugely expensive and you knew you'd never likely to get, but somebody went the extra mile and got that similar gift for you, or a smaller version of that gift? Now, as you can see, I did eventually get the Dodge Charger that I wanted. Well, as near as damn it, got the one that I wanted. That red one there you're looking at is a 1968. So I was a year off, but I did actually get a Dodge Charger. The only problem was I had to buy the damn thing myself. So cost us a fair bit of money, but it's here, it's mine, it's been mine since 2005, and it'll continue to be mine. But at least in the end, I made it. I got the Dodge Charger that I wanted, even if I did have to buy it myself. However, it didn't end there. Because once you get the ultimate present, the present that you've wanted for so many years, you tend to think to yourself, well, what do I do now? Next time when Christmas comes around, what am I going to ask for then? I've got the one thing I wanted. But it never ends there when you're a car person. There's always something else that goes on the list. And over the years, I've had gifts being given to us of trolley jacks, axle stands, a whole load of tools, socket sets, etc., etc. But I've never had anything else that I've actually thought I could put that on top of my list. That is until a couple of years ago when I started watching a certain TV series. And that TV series is called Supernatural. And it's all about demon hunting and ghosts and spooks, etc., etc. However, that's not really relevant. Now, the car that they drive in there is a 1967 Chevrolet Impala 4-door hardtop. Looks a bit like this. God, I'd love one of those. I would really love one of those. They are hideously expensive for the minute. I don't want an expensive one. I just want a cheap one that looks a bit rough around the edges that I can fiddle about with, play with, and get running properly. Now, that one, this year, that's top of my list. Will I get it? Well, you'll have to stay tuned to the channel to find out. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see through the following 12 months to see if I do actually get a 67 Chevy Impala 4-door hardtop. Now, number 2 on my list this year is a supercharger, otherwise known as a blower. It looks like this, and it sits on top of the engine, under between the carburetor and the engine block. Gives loads of power. Normally you find them poking through the bonnet, something like this. And the final thing I would like to put on my Christmas list this year would be a lift, either a 4-post lift or a 2-post lift, something like that. Some way of getting the car in the air when it's on the drive or in the garage, so I can actually do the work on it without having to lie flat on the ground when it's wet, or without having to sort of crawl underneath the car and not have enough space to get my arms in to do anything I want to do. So that's the top 3 things on my Christmas list this year: a 67 Chevy Impala 4-door hardtop, a blower or a supercharger, and some form of lift to get the car off the ground. Now, I know it's highly unlikely that I'm going to get any of those 3 things, and I know it's also highly unlikely that I'll get a version of any of those 3 things, at least as far as this coming Christmas is concerned. But what's on your list? What would you like to wake up to on Christmas morning after Santa Claus has been? And to bring the day to a close, it's starting to get dark outside. It's just started raining. It's absolutely starting off the top of the cars here at the moment, which brings us nicely to the end of Vlogmas 23. If you've enjoyed this one, caress the like button on the way out. Consider subscribing to the channel. You never know what you're going to find coming up with the channel in the following 12 months. But for now, thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you tomorrow night for the final Vlogmas 24. Bye for now.